And I'm sitting here with none other than Danique Liddell here tonight from My Boxing Point of View and Fox Sports Rochester to talk about this absolute slaughterhouse that we witnessed. Chisora versus the great Deontay Wilder, who I had the privilege of watching in person, but we'll get into that later. What a fight, Danique. What are your thoughts on this bloodbath that went
You know
down?
what? I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was a great match. Chisora versus Deontay Wilder was definitely it was an explosive match. They were going back and forth. A lot of pressure was applied. Chisora ended up knocked out of the ring twice. Or he said pushed out of the ring twice by Deontay Wilder. Ultimately, I think it was a really good end to Chisora's career. This is his 50th match, and this is his last match, supposedly. So,
Wow.
I thought it was a good end. I would have kind of, as far as somebody ending, you would like to see them go out on, to be the victorious one. But Deontay Wilder, I am a fan of Deontay Wilder, so I'm happy to see Deontay Wilder get the win.
And it was a very emotional fight. We have the
Yes.
podcast that you're hosting coming out about mental health and fighting in sports. And I saw one clip. In fact, it was the clip that was kind of circulating. Deontay Wilder saying that he loved him.
Right.
A little "I love you" going back and forth. So what was
Right.
that all about? How'd that all go down?
Well, apparently they're friends outside of the ring. You really didn't see a lot of them going back and forth. A lot of times you see like these boxers, like they really build up the fight. They really don't like each other. They're going back and forth, ripping into each other. But you didn't really see that with this fight because they're friends outside of the ring, and they decided to take this match, kind of like to help each other's career. And to Chisora, so we can go out this way, and Deontay Wilder can, come back victorious. And so that's why you really didn't see a lot of that because they really do love each other. And in a point in the match, you saw him say, "I love you," And you know what? I think it's funny because a lot of people were saying that Deontay Wilder, he didn't finish him. Like, he's not where he was before because he didn't finish him. And Deontay Wilder countered that. And he said after the match that he didn't want to give him too much punishment. And he saw how much punishment Chisora was taking. He said he saw his vein popping out on his his forehead and stuff, and he's like, I really didn't want to give him that much punishment because I want to make sure that he's able to have all his faculties and go home to his family and be good because ultimately after a boxer's over, their career is over, nobody looks for them anymore, and a lot of times they do have cognitive problems, and Deontay Wilder says that he has so much love for him and actually so much love for just boxers period for his opponents that he never wants to hurt them. So,
To
that's
this
one thing
day,
that I found that was very interesting.
love Deontay, just an emotional guy. We
Yes,
all know probably the most
definitely.
viral clip was him ranting that one time years ago. To this day,
Oh, yes, that
love it.
definitely went viral, and the message that he was saying hasn't been lost, and it's something
No.
that he's very passionate about. And, as a woman of color, it's something that we should be passionate about,
Yeah.
like you always got to be passionate about race relations and things of that nature. So, and Deontay Wilder likes to put himself at the forefront of that. I recently just saw an interview that he was saying that he's the new Muhammad Ali. I feel like that could be a controversial statement to go here nor there, but he likes to put himself in that category, and I think it's good for him.
What are you gonna say to him? Honestly, like I wouldn't try to cross Deontay. Yeah, sure, sure, dude. You're the new Muhammad Ali, right?
You're
What are you gonna
right.
do to stop the guy?
You can't really say, much about when it comes to those type of issues. You know what I mean? You
No,
gotta
and
just
not
let
just that.
people
He's
go
not
with
the
what they're
kind of
going with.
guy, not the guy to cross. And by the way, one of the more unorthodox fighters, Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
When you watch him fight, there's
Hmm.
so many guys that we always talk about how technical fighters can be and how pretty it
Yeah.
could look and the footwork.
Hmm.
This guy is just a slugger.
He
And he
is.
for years he was that one guy that you make one wrong move, he will knock you out. He is the exact prototype for a knockout artist, but the way that he has such an unorthodox stance and his whole
Absolutely.
approach.
He does. And Deontay Wilder has his signature right hand, and that's like really
Yeah.
what he like will go for, and like he'll look for like the knockout, like to knock them down, knock them out, because he does have that power in that punch, and a lot of people were saying that he lost it, but he did show it in this fight when he knocked him down. So, Deontay Wilder, I do think that he is a great fighter when he's focused on his matches, and I think it took a lot out of him, the trilogy with Fury, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Mentally,
I do like
like
to see him coming back.
What do you think about that? Like he mentions that he's the Muhammad Ali, and obviously we're not talking about like social justice issues here.
Right,
But I would say Tyson Fury. I wouldn't necessarily call him the Muhammad Ali, but he was kind of the face of that era because of him defeating Deontay Wilder two of
right.
three times like that, and in
Mhm.
the fashion that he did, like rising up like the Undertaker
Right.
and continued to fight. So,
I
what are
mean,
your
in that last fight, he just wouldn't go down. Like, he
how
just
much was that
literally
a
would not go down, you know?
I felt like Deontay was never really the same fighter after that trilogy because his psyche, he was essentially undefeated up to that point,
Right. Right,
and
and
then
then
it
he started
was
fighting with Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury is just it was a hard contender for Deontay Wilder. Some people say Tyson Fury exposed him. I just think that he was a harder contender for Deontay Wilder. And that's really it. Sometimes you get those opponents where I always say, like, if you fight somebody once and it's a draw, in my point of view, in my opinion, I think maybe you should kind of leave that alone. Like,
probably a good
if
idea.
you're looking to do that, Floyd Mayweather, zero losses, like if you're really looking to do that, then maybe you should leave that alone, because if you're already, if this person you're already fighting them and then you guys are tied, now they already know your style. Now they already know where your weakness is at. And next time they're gonna come in and they're gonna kind of know where there's cracks in your armor, so to speak. And so when Deontay Wilder took that second match with Tyson Fury already knew, okay, this is what I have to work on. This is where he's weak at, and this is what I'm gonna go after. And there's people who say that Deontay Wilder really didn't even prepare for that second fight, and that's why he
That's right.
got beat so bad. And then the third fight, he tried to come back and it just didn't work. But in the third fight, you did see him go out on his shield, so to speak. And I definitely think it's been a trail going back up. It's been like hard for Deontay Wilder to get back to the glory that he was once at when he was matched up with Anthony Joshua, which was who he was supposed to fight before he fought um, Tyson Fury, and who they're trying to get that fight to be made now. After the fight
That's
with Chisora, let me just tell you another thing. People
yeah.
are saying Deontay Wilder didn't really finish Chisora the way he should have finished him, and it's saying how Deontay Wilder has fell off. I really truly I don't know if I really believe that, because when they both weighed in, Deontay Wilder weighed in at 226 and Chisora weighed in at 266. So that's literally like a 40-pound weight difference. So
Yeah.
that's really going to be kind of hard to finish somebody who's 40 pounds heavier than you, all mass. And
Oh
Deontay
yeah.
Wilder he was lean and he was muscle. So, even so, I don't really necessarily know, like, mechanically, if it was going to be too easy for Deontay Wilder to just finish Chisora, like in a class that people are saying they wanted to see it happen in.
Well, the
That's
last time
another
that he
thing.
was finished was by Tyson Fury
Right,
back in 2022 in the
right,
10th round,
right,
knocked out, and that was a championship fight.
right. And,
So he's
and,
not
and
very far removed from his glory.
Right. And in that fight, Tyson Fury also came in significantly heavier than him. Remember, when the heavyweight division, all the other divisions, they have to be 154, 146, 132, like whatever it is, that's the weight they had to come in at. But when you're talking about the heavyweight, it's anything over 200 pounds. That's it. So you could be 201 fighting somebody, 250. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it gets really tricky when it comes down to the heavyweight division. So a
Yeah.
lot, it's a slugger division, and a lot, it's the skill has a lot to do with that. But with that being said, at the end of the fight, Chisora and Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder walks by Anthony Joshua, who was in the crowd, and they're like, they had like a little exchange of words back and forth, and something to the fact of, let's get it on. So hopefully we will see that fight that people have been wanting to see for years, um, between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, which is a fight that I'm definitely very interested in. Even Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's promoter, says that this is a fight that people still want to see. And me, as a boxing analyst, as a boxing fan, I am definitely still interested in seeing a Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, because I feel like they're kind of even. They both lost. They both no longer undefeated. You've seen cracks in both of their armor, so to speak. So I feel like it would be a good matchup, even though they're
Yeah.
trying to match Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, nothing's set in stone with that yet.
Well, we all know that the real big dog right now is the guy that Fury can't seem to beat. The only guy that's, I believe, ever beat Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk.
Usyk is a beast. Usyk
He's
is
an
a
animal.
definitely a problem in the heavyweight division. Absolutely. I love to watch Usyk fight. Usyk is a great boxer. And anytime he goes in there, I'm always like, this is going to be a hard match for any of his contenders. Usyk
He's
is a
never
great
lost.
fighter.
He's the only real powerhouse, right? That's still undefeated at that
Right.
in that weight class. Like the only guy that I thought was going to stop him was Tyson Fury. I like
Right.
it, man. We got the great white hopes in there. They're just not
Listen,
American.
I love Usyk. I think Usyk is a great boxer. I really, really do. He's a great contender, and he's another one that I would like to see matched up. You know?
Do you think that it would that Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua would give him a run for his money? Because they seem like a different
No.
type of fighter, especially Anthony
Um,
Joshua.
to be honest, I think that as I always say in boxing, it depends on how you prepare. Anything can happen in boxing. Anybody can be a winner during that day. But it really depends on how you prepare. But from what I've seen, I really feel like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are getting back their momentum after the losses that they've faced. And, Usyk is just something that you really have to be on your P's and Q's with. Like he's somebody who you really have to lock in, be focused with. And that's how he would win, how either one of them would win that fight. But for now, I don't think either one of them should take that fight with Usyk. No, not
It
right
would be
now.
crazy because he's knocking all of them out. He's beating them all down, right? And it's
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, the one guy recently that beat Anthony Joshua and kind of broke up his momentum was Dubois. Am I saying it right?
Dubois, yes. Yes.
And recently he was knocked out in the fifth round
Yeah.
by Usyk. So there's really nobody, no heavyweight that really stands a chance, right? His last, if I'm looking back here, right, the last fights that Usyk had were Anthony Joshua, Dubois, and Tyson Fury.
I believe
Or
so,
like
yes.
two fights for each of these guys, all of them resulting, I guess not knockouts, but I mean victories.
With victories
Um,
for Usyk in Usyk's favor, yes.
Unanimous decision. I guess there was a
Right.
split decision with one Tyson Fury fight,
With the Tyson Fury fight, exactly.
but then he
But,
came back to beat him the next fight, less
right.
than a year later.
Right.
So
Like I said, Usyk is no one to play with. He's no one to go in there and, he can really do damage to someone. Boxing, again, like I always say, boxing, you can't play boxing. You have to prepare for your opponent. You have to make sure that you're prepared. Otherwise, you could die in that ring or you could get very, very seriously hurt. So someone
yeah,
like Usyk, I wouldn't think that I just think that Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder should fight each other and should prepare more before they go into fighting someone like Usyk. I don't think that right now that should be either one of their next fight.
well, I guess we'll see what happens. Shout out to Usyk, and hopefully he's staying safe. I don't know if you remember, this will be one of our little boxing history segments, but he went back to Ukraine. Remember this?
Yes.
When Russia invaded Ukraine. And it was probably just some propaganda campaign, the same way that, Joe DiMaggio joined the army back in the day.
Yeah.
But his house was ransacked. So he went through some things. But Danique, I want to thank you, as always, for some post fight coverage. And everyone that's listening out there, we do have some history, boxing history coming your way. We're going to peel back the layers on the good stuff that nobody talks about. We don't even know if it really happened. It's
Right.
legends, it's myths, it's tales, and a few pictures and paintings sprinkled in between. So we'll get more of that. But Danique, thank you very much. My
No
Boxing
problem.
POV. Go to TikTok. Go to My Boxing POV. And Danique, any last words for the fine folks out there?
No, just stay tuned to my boxing POV, Fox Sports Radio, Ryan, the Ryan Show, and everything boxing and sports related. We're here to report on it and bring it to you guys live.
We'll be back after these brief messages.